The cheapest store in town is quietly one of the most expensive places in America to buy groceries. Ounce for ounce, the dollar store charges more than Walmart, more than Target, sometimes double what you'd pay at a supermarket. And the CEO of the biggest chain has admitted it out loud, and it isn't slowing anything down. There are now more dollar stores in America than Walmart, Target, McDonald's, and Starbucks combined, over 37,000 of them, making billions every year selling to the people with the least money to spend. Which means the whole business runs on a trick. Not cheap junk, not expired food, not some warehouse of fallen off the truck stock. Something much smarter, hiding in plain sight on every shelf in the building. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what dollar stores are really selling, and the answer says more about the American economy than most banks ever could. It starts with a bag of Goldfish crackers. At Dollar Tree, a carton of Pepperidge Farm Goldfish costs $1.25. Same fish, same brand, same smile on the packet, but the carton holds 2 ounces. At Target, a 30-ounce carton of the same crackers sells for around $9. Run the numbers, and the picture flips upside down. The dollar store fish work out to about 63 cents an ounce. Target's work out to about 30. The cheapest snack in town costs more than double per ounce. And Goldfish are not the exception. Toilet paper, soap, cereal, batteries, trash bags. Check the per unit price on almost anything, and the dollar store loses to the big box store nearly every time. Because a dollar store doesn't sell things cheaper, it sells things smaller. Quick question, because almost everyone watching has done this. When was the last time you walked into a dollar store for one thing and walked out with a full basket? What did you actually go in for? Let us know in the comments. Now, back to that tiny carton, because it's not an accident. It was engineered. In a normal store, the product comes first and the price follows. Cost of goods plus rate plus margin equals whatever awkward number ends up on the shelf tag. Dollar stores run the entire equation in reverse. The price is fixed. It's the one thing in the building that can never move, so everything else bends around it. Dollar store buyers go to manufacturers with a number, and the manufacturers redesign the product to hit it. Fewer ounces in a bag, thinner plastic in the bottle, 5 batteries in the pack instead of 8. A bar of soap just slightly smaller than the one in the supermarket. Big brands like Kraft Heinz now design products specifically for dollar stores themselves. Sizes you cannot buy anywhere else on earth. Inside the industry, this has a polite name: value engineering. The pack shrinks until the number on the tag works, and that number is doing something to your brain. A single fixed price removes math from the shopping entirely. Nothing needs comparing. Nothing needs weighing. Everything in the store is pre-approved before you touch it. The only decision left is yes or no, and at $1.25, it's almost always yes. That's why the baskets fill up. None of this is a secret, by the way. Todd Vassos, the CEO of Dollar General, has publicly said that on a per item and per ounce basis, his stores often cost more than the big retailers. The man running the machine admits the machine charges a premium. So the real question is why millions of Americans keep walking in every single day anyway. Because unit price is a luxury metric. The 30-ounce carton of Goldfish is objectively the better deal, but it costs $9, and a better deal you can't afford isn't a deal at all. It's a locked door. If you have $20 to stretch until Friday, the big carton might as well not exist. The 2-ounce carton exists. It fits inside the week you're actually having. Dollar General's own executives have described their core customer as someone who runs out of money before the end of the month. For that customer, the small package isn't a ripoff. It's the only version of the product that matches their budget. They're paying extra per ounce for the right to buy less than everyone else. And the dollar store collects that premium on millions of baskets a day, quietly, while the sign out front still promises cheapness. The margin lives in that gap, and it never has to announce itself. But a clever price only works on a customer who walks past it, and getting the store in front of the customer is where this business turns ruthless. In 1955, A Kentucky retailer named Cal Turner opened a store in Springfield with one rule: nothing inside costs more than $1. He called it Dollar General. For decades, it stayed a southern discount chain, and then somewhere along the way, it discovered the strategy would make it the most common store in the United States. Go where nobody else will. The average Dollar General is about 7,400 square feet, roughly 1/10 the size of a Walmart supercenter. It's a metal box on a concrete slab at the edge of town, built for a fraction of what a supermarket costs. And it runs on a skeleton crew, 6 to 10 employees in total, often just 2 or 3 people in the building at once. A store that small and that cheap pays for itself fast, which means Dollar General can afford to plant one in a town that could never feed a Walmart. And that is exactly what it does. 3/4 of Dollar General stores sit in communities of 20,000 people or fewer. The towns big retail forgot. The company built an algorithm to pick the locations, feeding it data most retailers never think about: traffic patterns, speed limits, the distance to the nearest school, church, and post office. At its peak, the machine was opening more than 1,000 stores a year, roughly 3 a day, every day, including Christmas. The result is a kind of retail carpet bombing. About 75% of all Americans now live within a 5-mile radius of a Dollar General. In thousands of small towns, it is the only store for miles, the closest thing to a supermarket the town has left. And when the alternative is a 40-minute round trip, nobody stands in the aisle doing price per ounce math. The gas math beats the Goldfish math every time. That's the second premium the dollar store collects, and it might be the bigger one. Not smallness, closeness. In fiscal 2025, Dollar General pulled in $42.7 billion across nearly 21,000 stores. More locations than any other retailer in America. You might wonder why Walmart doesn't just follow them into these towns and crush them. It tried. In 2011, Walmart launched a small format called Walmart Express, its own answer to the dollar store. 5 years later, it shut the entire experiment down and closed every one of the roughly 100 locations. And in a final twist of the knife, dozens of those empty buildings were bought up and reopened as Dollar Generals. A supercenter needs a whole county's worth of shoppers to function. Walmart's machine is built for volume, and it simply doesn't work at the scale of a town of 800 people. Dollar Generals do. Sometimes the strongest position in business isn't being the best. It's being the only one who shows up. Step inside one of those metal boxes, and the strategy continues on the shelves. A supermarket carries more than 30,000 different products. A Dollar General carries a tightly edited few thousand, mostly the things you run out of on a Tuesday. Paper towels, snacks, cleaning spray, shampoo. Around 80% of what Dollar General sells is the kind of everyday consumable. And here's the twist: that stuff barely makes money. Margins on branded food and cleaning products are thin. The consumables have a different job. They're the reason you visit twice a week. The actual profit hides in the other aisles. The $5 picture frames, the seasonal decorations, the phone chargers, the private label products with no brand to pay. Necessities generate the traffic. The stuff you didn't come for generates the margin, which is why the candy is at your ankles and the Halloween aisle appears in August. It's a beautiful machine, and in 2021, the other giant of the industry looked at all of it and did something no dollar store had ever dared. It touched the dollar itself. For 35 years, Dollar Tree kept the purest promise in retail. Everything in the store costs $1. Through recessions, oil shocks, and decades of inflation, dollar stayed a dollar. It was the last true dollar store in America. Then, in late 2021, the company announced the dollar was over. The new price for everything was $1.25. Customers called it a betrayal. Wall Street called it brilliant. Those extra 25 cents changed almost nothing about what it cost Dollar Tree to buy, ship, and shelf its products. So most of the increase flowed straight toward profit. Multiplied across billions of items a year, it may be the most profitable 25 cents in the history of American retail. And once the seal was broken, there was no reason to stop. Dollar Tree now converts locations to a format it calls 3.0, with prices scattered through the store at $3, $5, up to $7. The dollar store quietly became a store where almost nothing cost a dollar, and customers barely blinked. The lesson was uncomfortable and valuable at the same time. The word dollar was never really a number. It was a feeling, and the feeling survived the price. From the outside, all of this looks unstoppable. Cheap boxes, tiny staff, captive towns, engineered packs, a price that isn't even a price anymore. But run a machine this lean, and things start slipping through the cracks. In Dollar General's case, nearly $1 billion a year was walking out the door. In 2024, Dollar General lost $928 million of merchandise to what the retail calls shrink. Goods that vanish through theft, damage, and scanning errors. For scale, the company's entire net income that year was about $1.1 billion. The disappearing merchandise equaled roughly 84% of the profit. The same skeleton crew that makes the stores cheap to run make them nearly impossible to guard. 2 employees cannot watch 6 aisles. When the company dug into the data, analyzing hundreds of thousands of transactions, it found the biggest leak wasn't professional shoplifters. It was self-checkout, the machines it had installed to save on labor. So Dollar General did something almost unheard of in modern retail. It ripped self-checkout out of roughly 12,000 stores and put human cashiers back at. The losses started falling almost immediately. One of the biggest retailers in America improved its business by hiring people to do a job it had automated. Painful, but survivable. The industry's real catastrophe belongs to Dollar Tree, and it cost 15 times more. In 2015, Dollar Tree and Dollar General fought a bidding war over Family Dollar, a chain of roughly 8,000 stores concentrated in cities. Dollar Tree won, paying about $8.5 billion. On paper, it created an empire, the suburban dollar store king and the urban one under a single roof. In practice, it was a decade of misery. The store networks overlapped, the customers behaved differently, the locations were tired, and the brand kept finding new ways to embarrass itself, including a distribution center infested with over 1,000 rodents, which triggered an FDA shutdown, a massive recall, and a record food safety fine. Family Dollar became the business school case study nobody wanted to star in. In the summer of 2025, Dollar Tree finally surrendered and sold Family Dollar to a pair of investment firms for about $1 billion. Bought for $8.5 billion, sold for $1. Roughly 12 cents on the dollar, which is a brutal exchange rate for a company whose entire brand is known for what a dollar is worth. The lesson wasn't that dollar stores can't fail. It's that the machine only works when it is run exactly the way it was designed. Small, tight, and cheap. The moment it got big and complicated, it bled out. And while the giants were fighting each other, the towns they moved into started fighting back. Researchers kept finding the same pattern. When a dollar store opens on the edge of a small town, the local independent grocer, the one selling fresh meat and produce, loses a chunk of its sales and often closes within a few years. The dollar store doesn't stock much fresh food, so the town ends up with shelves of packaged goods and nowhere to buy a vegetable. Dozens of American communities have now passed restrictions or outright bans on new dollar stores, which is a remarkable thing to say about the cheapest store in town. Some places want them desperately, others are paying lawyers to keep them out. The companies have noticed, and Dollar General has been adding produce coolers to thousands of stores. Partly a fix, partly a shield, because the map is the moat, and the moat is worth protecting. Here's the part nobody saw coming. The dollar store was built on the customer who runs out of money before the month does. And for decades, the industry quietly grew fastest when the economy hurt most. But in 2026, Dollar General reported that its fastest growing group of new customers is households earning more than $100,000 a year. 6-figure families in the aisles, filling baskets next to the customers the stores were designed for. Inflation did that. When the middle class starts feeling poor, it shops where the poor have always shopped, which reveals the strangest property of this business. It grows on the way down when its core customers have nowhere else to go, and it grows on the way up when everyone else trades down to join them. There is no economy in which the dollar store loses. It is a bet on financial stress, and financial stress always shows up somewhere. Wall Street worked this out long ago. Dollar stocks are treated as a recession hedge, the thing investors buy when everything else looks shaky, and their shares have a habit of rising on the exact same news that sinks everyone else's. In this business, misery is a tailwind. So that is how dollar stores make money, and it was never really about the products. They engineer packages down to hit a magic number, sell smallness at a premium to people for whom small is the only size that fits. Plant cheap boxes in towns nobody else wants, and let closeness do the rest. The Goldfish was never the product. The price tag was the product. The feeling that here, at least, your money still works. And underneath it all sits one uncomfortable piece of math. Older than any of these companies. Buying in bulk has always been a privilege of having money, and buying small has always been a cost of not having it. Dollar stores didn't invent that rule. They just built 37,000 stores on top of it, and became the most common store in America. If you enjoyed learning about how dollar stores make money, make sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And if you're interested in how other businesses and industries make money, check out our video on how Rolex makes money, or the full playlist on the channel. We'll see you in the next one.